Hello everyone. In this video, we will be building a small project in ASP.NET, and that is a voting application. We will be using Bootstrap and cookies in this project. Here is a short demonstration of the project. We will display the book's image and its title and the author's name. Then we will ask the user, how is this book? User has three options: good, satisfactory, and bad. Whenever the user votes, the page will update the count of votes and the user will be able to see what percent of the votes did the book get. So, for the first time, when I click on good, the good votes will increase and average and bad will be 0%. And if we click on some other button, then the votes will also be affected. This is a very simple application that we will be building. So, let's get started now. Open your Visual Studio. You can create a new project or choose an existing one. For new project, I'll click on create a new project. Choose C Sharp, Windows and Web options from the drop down menu. Then scroll down and select ASP.NET Web Application, the .NET framework. Now, let us give our app some name. I am naming it as Voting App. So I'll write voting and A capital APP. Make sure that this is not checked and also try to stick with the latest version of .NET Framework. I'm using the version 4.7.2. Now click on create, then choose the web forms and again click on create. Wait for some time and let the project be created. Okay, once our project is built, we will add the Bootstrap library. So right click on your project name and select add, then select client side library. Now in this client side library, you need to search for Twitter-Bootstrap. So type Twitter and then hyphen Bootstrap. You can select this Twitter-Bootstrap and it will automatically select the latest version. Again, you need to stick to the latest version to get the best results. Okay, now click on install. So we are using this version 4.5.3. We will be installing all of these libraries and CSS files in our project, and this will be the folder, that is lib folder. As of now, we don't have any folder named as lib. So now click on install. You will notice that a new folder is added and also a libman.json file is also created. So these all were the files that were created. You can see that all the files have been listed in the solution explorer on the right hand side. Now I will minimize all these folders and also I will rename the folder main folder name to Bootstrap. So let us do that now. Now I will rename this Twitter-Bootstrap to simply Bootstrap. Now we will add a web form. So right click on the project name, then select add, then select new item and then select web form. So in this page, choose the web forms option and click on web form. Now let us rename the web form one to voting page. So I'll write voting page with V and P capital. Now click on add. This is the new web form which has been created for us. It has a code behind file and a designer file. But before going to the code behind part and logical stuff, we will design our page first. As of now, our voting page is empty. So let us start by importing the Bootstrap library. So simply click next to title and then search for bootstrap.css file in your Bootstrap folder. Then drag and drop it next to the title. This will automatically import the CSS for us. Now we need to create a card that holds an image, some text, and a button. We will do that by simply referring to the Bootstrap's official documentation. So open your browser and go to this website, getbootstrap.com. I will share the link in the description also. So you need to go to this website, getbootstrap.com. Now navigate to the documentation section, search for card, and then select the first option. Scroll down and see the options that are available. Okay, so in these options, we need the first one, which has an image, some text, and a button. So copy this code given below and then paste it in the Visual Studio between the div tags of your form. Okay, now let us quickly rearrange the code. So I have rearranged and reformatted the code. Now, if you go to the design view, then you won't be able to see anything because we haven't added any image yet. So simply remove these three dots and now let us search for a book image. Alright, let us go to Amazon and search for any ASP.NET framework book. So let us search ASP.NET framework and you can choose any of the book you want. Um, let's say, um, let us select this one. Right click on the image and then copy the image address. You can select you can choose to copy the image address or copy image location depending on the browser you're using. Now once you have copied the address, you need to go back to Visual Studio and paste it in this src section of the image. Let us view this page in browser now. So in design view, it doesn't look that great. We will view this page in browser. So right click and select view in browser. Click on advanced and select accept the risk and continue. Wow, that's great. We have completed 75% of the designing now. We want this card to be in the center of this page. So let us do that now. In your form tag, add container fluid class. So just type class equals to container dash fluid. You can learn about all these classes from Bootstrap's official documentation by simply searching the name. The container fluid class makes the element to occupy the entire width of the screen. Okay, now I will add another class. Since we want to align the contents in the center, I will add the class align content center. So you need to write align dash content dash center, and next we will also and then we will also add a vertical margin of 3 units by typing my dash 3. Now this won't do any major changes, but if you want to see, then you can go to your browser or click on view in browser and see it in the browser. So you will notice that our element has got some spacing around itself. Previously there was no margin, but now we have got a margin and we need to align this card into the center of the screen. So now let us go back and add some more styling classes. Now next to the card class, add mx auto class. What this will do is it will align the object or align the card in the center of the screen with equal margin on both the sides. Okay, so mx auto class will basically align the item into the center of the screen. So right click and visit the page in browser. We can see that our card is in the center. Previously it wasn't in the center and now it is in the center. Now we have to change the title of the card and set it to the title of the book, that is the book's title. So I will stop the recording and change the title and card text and start the recording and show it to you guys. I have changed the card title and the card text. Actually, I have replaced the card text class with card subtitle class. Now add an h5 tag and add class equals to card text. In this, I will write how is this book. So I'll write card text and within the h5 tags, I will write how is this book. Now, after writing this, you need to save this file and check the web page to see the updates. So just save this, go back to the browser, refresh it and see the changes. So we can see that the updates have been reflected. This looks great. We also need to add 3 buttons. So let us do that now. Click on the toolbox on the left hand side and pin it. Select the button element and drop it below the h5 tag. We will first change the text attribute and set the text to good. We will also change ID and set it to button good. Save it, go back to your browser and refresh the page to see the changes. Okay, so now we can see the button, but it doesn't look that great. Therefore, we will go back and add some styling to it and see it again. Copy the class attribute from the below tag and then go and paste it in the button tag. So paste it over here and then save this file and go back to your browser, refresh the page and see the changes. It looks amazing, isn't it? If you want this button to occupy the entire width of the card, then you can add btn block class. Now if you refresh the page, you can see the button has occupied the entire width. We will also add the my3 class, which will give the button a margin of 3 units above and below the button. So let us do that, save the page and refresh the browser to view the website. Now change the button primary attribute to btn success in order to change the color from blue to green. Yes, now we can remove this element, so I will just go back and delete this anchor tag. Next step is very easy. Simply copy and paste this button twice, or you can use this Ctrl plus D to duplicate the line. So I will duplicate the above line twice, and now you have to change the second button's ID to button satisfactory and change the third button's ID to button bad. Change the second button's attribute button success to button warning in order to get a yellow color. Now also change the third button's btn success attribute to btn danger in order to get a red color. Now set the text of second button to average and that of the third button to bad. Save this and refresh your browser. And voila, we're done. We are done with the design aspect. Now we need to add functionality to these buttons. So let us do that now. Go to the design view, scroll down and double click on the good button. Now we are in the code behind file. Before we add logic to our button, we will create some variables that will help us to work around. Create a private static read-only integer variable named as good and assign it a value of 3. We will allot 3 points to good, 2 points to average or satisfactory, and 1 point to bad. Actually, there is no need of doing this, so we will just duplicate this below line twice and change the second variable's name to satisfactory and third variable's name to bad. Now we need to create another variable that stores the total score. Then we will create some other variables for counting the number of good, bad, and satisfactory votes. Then we will create variables to calculate their percentages and store them. So let us create the variable to store the total score. So write public float score equals to 0. I'm naming the variable as score with a capital S. Then create variables to count the number of good, bad, and satisfactory votes and set its initial values to 0, just like the value of score. So write public float gv equals to 0, then public float sv equals to 0, and public float bv equals to 0. Now gv means good vote, bv means bad vote, and sv means satisfactory votes. Then create variables to store individual percentages. So write public float gp equals to 0, public float sp equals to 0, and public float bp equals to 0. GP stands for good percentage, SP stands for satisfactory percentage, and BP stands for bad percentage. In general, G stands for good, B stands for bad, and S stands for satisfactory. Now we will create a variable to count number of button clicks. So write public int btn underscore clicks equals to 0. Now we will create a variable to store maximum possible score. So write public float max equals to 0 and don't forget to add a semicolon. Now this max variable will store the maximum possible score and this will increase in multiples of 3 whenever we click a button. Why? Because each of our point are also equal to 3 and therefore maximum possible points is equal to 3. So this variable will be increasing in the multiples of 3. Now on page load, we have to check if a cookie exists or not. Why? Because we will be storing all these values in the cookie. And if the cookie exists, then we will retrieve the stored values. Otherwise, we will create a new cookie. So write HTTP cookie, then give some variable name. I will name our variable as cookie. So let us write cookie equals to request dot cookies with a capital C. Then after this, add square bracket, double quotes, and within the square brackets and double quotes, write book underscore data. Okay. Now what will this code do? It will simply request the browser to give cookies which has the name of book underscore data. Now we will check if the cookie exists or not. If yes, then retrieve its value, otherwise create a new cookie. Okay, so for this we will be needing an if else block. So let us start by writing an if block. So write if cookie equals to null. So we are checking if cookie is null. And when will this happen? When the cookie is not, when the cookie has never been saved in the browser. Okay. So when cookie is equal to null, we will create a new cookie. So let us see how we can do that. In order to create a new cookie, we will need the HTTP cookie method. So write cookie and cookie equals to new HTTP cookie, and within the parentheses add double quotes and write book underscore data within these double quotes. So what are we doing? We are creating an object. We are basically creating an HTTP cookie object. Okay. Now we will store all the variable values in this cookie. So let's start by saving the value of score in this cookie. So write cookie, square brackets, double quotes, within the double quotes give some key value like score, and then make it equal to score.toString. We need to use this toString method because cookies take string values. Copy paste this line below and change the key and value from score to btn underscore clicks. Now create a cookie value to store max score and write it as follows. So cookie, square bracket, double quotes, max, double quotes, square bracket close equals to max.toString. And don't forget to add a semicolon at the end. Okay, now we will be storing all of these values in the cookie. So I will pause the video, write the code to store all these values in the cookie, and come back. I have created the following cookie values. I have saved all vote counts and percent counts in the cookie. Next, we simply need to save this cookie on the machine. So type response.cookies.add method. In this method, we will pass our cookie variable. So we have to write response.cookies.add, add parenthesis, and within this parenthesis, pass a cookie variable. So this cookie will be added to the cookie collection. In case the cookie is not null, then we need to initialize all the variables with the previously stored values. So what we have written now is for the condition when our cookie will be null. That is, we have to create the cookie for the first time. But in case the cookie is not null and we have already created the cookie previously, then we will need to retrieve all the previously stored values and initialize our variables with the previously stored values. So make an else block, and in this you will need to initialize all the above variables from its cookie values. We will see how we can do that in a while. So first of all, we will initialize the score variable. So you need to write score equals to cookie, square brackets and double quotes. Within the square brackets and double quotes, you need to write score. And last but not the least, you need to parse this score. You need to parse this string value which is returned by cookie into float. Why? Because the original data type of the score variable is float. So we will write float.parse, and within the parenthesis we will pass this cookies string variable. Now do the same for rest of the variables. So btn underscore click equals to int dot parse cookies square brackets btn underscore click. If the data type of the variable is float, then you need to parse the cookie value to float. Otherwise, if it is int, then parse the cookie value into int. So in this case, the data type of btn click is int, so we will parse the cookie value to int. Do this for all variables, and that's it. I will pause the recording and initialize all the variables and get back once it is done. So I have initialized these variables. If you faced any issues, then you can refer to this and initialize your variables. Okay, now let us add some functionality to the button. Whenever the user will click the good button, this button good underscore click method will be executed. Every time a user clicks the button, we will retrieve the book data cookie. Therefore, write HTTP cookie, then name the cookie variable. I'm naming it as cookie itself with a small c, and make it equal to request.cookies, and request the cookie named as book underscore data. So add a square bracket, then add double quotes. Within the square brackets and double quotes, write book underscore data. Make sure you add a semicolon. Okay, Then we will use our custom function to perform calculation and other operations. So for now, just write update vote, add parentheses, then pass in two variables. First, our cookie object, which is cookie, and second, the string which says good. Now close the parentheses and add semicolon. You will notice that we are getting an error message which says that this name does not exist in the current context. So simply press Alt plus Enter and it will create the method or create this function for us. We can get rid of this throw statement, but for now, let us add functionality to other buttons also. So go to your design view and double click on Satisfactory button. In this method, you have to write some statements which we had written in the button good underscore click method. So you can copy and paste it and just change one parameter in the update vote method. Instead of good, you have to write satisfactory or average, whatever you wish to write. Now do the same for bad button and change the second parameter to bad. Cool. Now we can get rid of this throw statement in the update vote method and start by counting the button clicks and update it. For initializing the variables, we will be using the cookie which we passed in the parameter. So I'll write btn underscore clicks equals to cookie square brackets and double quotes. We are basically retrieving the previous button clicks and updating it. So since we had saved the button clicks in btn underscore clicks key, so we will write the same btn underscore clicks key in this cookie variable. And also we need to parse this cookie value into int because the data type of btn underscore clicks variable is integer. So we also have to write int dot parse and place this cookie variable within the parentheses of this int dot parse method. Now we need to increment the button clicks by 1. So we will simply write btn underscore clicks plus equals to 1, which is the other form of btn clicks equals to btn clicks plus 1. Now we need to save this button clicks in our cookie. So again, we will we will use the cookie variable and give the key as btn underscore clicks and save the value of button clicks to in this cookie variable. So write btn underscore clicks dot to string. Don't forget to add the semicolon. Next, I will retrieve the previous total score. So I will write score equals to cookie with a key value of score. When I say key value of score, you need to understand that I'm trying to say cookie square brackets parent double quotes, and within the double quotes we need to write the key value, that is score, and close the double quotes and square brackets. And don't forget to parse this score value into the correct data type. Actually, we will do this later. First, let us add a switch statement. Okay, so let us create a switch block. And in this switch block, I will pass this string value v, which we had taken from the parameter, and we will change the switch depending on the value of v. I mean to say, we will change the case depending on the value of v. But before setting the condition, let me just change the string name from v to category. Basically, we will implement some different method depending on the button clicked. So if the good button is clicked, then then the case will be good, and then we will implement the good buttons method. And if it is bad, then we will implement some different method. You'll get to know as I start writing the code. So this is the switch case with the category as the input, and this is the first case with case good, and As usual, you need to add a break statement at the end of every case statement. This is the second case, which is average, again with a break statement. And the third case is the bad case. Whenever a user will click the bad button, this part will be implemented. So this is the basic switch case block which I have created now. You need to do the same. Once again, this block means that depending upon the button which is clicked, some functions will be executed because we are passing different categories from different buttons. Also, we do not need to add a default statement over here because we know what all cases are we passing, and we have already created the cases to handle the different type of categories. Now, if the category is good, then increment the good vote count. So I'll write gc equals to cookie with a key value of small gv. I will also need to convert this string to float by parsing it to float. Then increment the value of gv by 1, that is gv equals to gv plus 1 or gv plus equals to 1. We also have to update the value of gv in cookie. So I'll write cookie equals to, sorry, so I'll write cookie with the key value of gv equals to capital GV dot toString, because we need to convert it into string as the cookie values always take string values. Now we will set the total score, but first we will retrieve the previous score, then update it, and then finally save it. So you have to write score equals to cookie with the key of score. Then you need to parse this cookie value to float. Since good button has been clicked, we will add the points of good to the total score. We are calculating the score because we need to find the percentage of good, bad, and satisfactory votes. So since the good button has been clicked, so we will write score equals to score plus good. That means incrementing the initial value of score by the points of good button. Now we can also do this in some other manner, like we can write score plus equals to good. Finally, we will save this value back in cookie by typing cookie with the key of score equals to score dot toString. Now we know the number of button clicks, good votes, and total score. We only need to calculate the percentages. But before that, you can copy and paste this code for the case average and the case bad. We only need to change the names after pasting it. In case of average, we will change the word good to average or satisfactory depending on the word we have chosen, and GV to SV. Now we have to do the same for the case bad also. So we will paste the same line of code over here and replace GV with BV and good with bad. Okay, we have made a lot of progress, guys. Now only 25% of the part is remaining. We will calculate the percentages now. Before that, we need to set the maximum score that is possible. So max equals to cookie with a key value of max. We are retrieving the previous max score. You need to parse this value into float because the original data type of this max value is of float. Then you have to increment max by the value of good, that is max equals to max plus good or max plus equals to good, because every time you click any button, the maximum score will be in multiples of 3. Why? Because the maximum score is equal to the value of good, bad, or average, that is 3. Since we have incremented the value, we need to save it in the cookie also. So we will write cookie with a key of max equals to max.toString. Now we will calculate individual percentages. Basic formula for calculating percentages in our case will be score gained divided by maximum possible score, the whole multiplied by 100. Let us calculate percentage of good votes. So we have to write GP equals to GV into good, that is good votes into the good points, good votes multiplied by good points, the whole divided by maximum score, and finally we need to multiply the whole by 100. Duplicate this line twice to calculate percentages of satisfactory votes and bad votes. Change the variable names from GP to SP and BP and from GV to SV and BV respectively. If you want, you can change this good variable to satisfactory and bad, but it is optional because all bear the same value. But for the sake of simplicity, I'll just change it from good to satisfactory and from good to bad. Now we have created the variables to store percentages. One last step is left, and that is displaying these percentages in our app. So now go to the source view of your ASPX file, copy the good button's ID, that is, copy the ID of good button, paste it in the code behind file, and then add a dot operator. Choose the text attribute and set it equal to good plus GP plus percentage. Now you can typecast this GP into integer so that it does not show a long float value. So we will just typecast it into integer by typing int within parentheses just before the GP. Okay. Now duplicate this line twice and change the button's ID to button satisfactory and button bad. For button satisfactory.text, change good to average and GP to SP. For button bad.text, change good to bad and GP to BP. Scroll back up below the cookie with a key of max. Let us add our cookie object into the cookies collection. So write response.cookies.add. Within the parameters, pass our cookie object which is named as cookie. Now we are ready to run this code and see our project. So go to the design page and right click and select view in browser. Now if I click good, then it should show the percentages. But for some reason, it is not showing the desired output. So let us stop this site and go back to our code and see where we went wrong. I will pause the video and do the debugging and come back when I find some results. Okay, so I have written max equals to plus good, which should have been max plus equals to good. It was a typing mistake, so I think once we fix this, we are good to go. So I'll just stop this site and run the project again by pressing Ctrl Shift W. Now when I click on good, still this isn't updating the count. I think this is related to the labeling of the button. So let's see if there is any error and fix that. We will stop the site before doing that, and now scroll down in your code behind file and see if we have written this statement correctly. Yup, this looks good. Let's see the switch statement once again. Okay, the switch statement is also looking fine. I think we are making some mistake while calling this function. So let us see the button good underscore click method. Before that, let me just collapse all the functions and rearrange the statements. Now we will just expand the button good underscore click method. Oh, there it is. We have to pass good in capital letters. Since in the switch case, we have named the good case with all caps and I have passed it in small letters. So we will replace small characters of this good with capital good. Now our problem is solved because previously the good case was not even being called. Now we are ready to see the final output. So if you have your site running, you will have to stop it first and then go to your voting page.aspx and press Ctrl plus Shift plus W. Let us test our project. When I click on good, the result is displayed correctly. When I click on average and bad, the results are updated correctly. And we have concluded our project and this is the final output. Congratulations guys, we have successfully completed this project. I hope this tutorial was helpful for you. If it was helpful for you, then do let me know by liking the video. If you have any doubts or suggestions, you can ask it or say it in the comment section. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.